Everybody, welcome to the Joshua Center Spiritual Evolution. Today's going to be a special celebration. The girls are back from France and we feel the spirit and all enjoy.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Maybe we can sit over there next time.
You guys mind to move if you don't mind?
Oh, no, I'll go over by them.
No, well, then we'll all have to change. We'll have to go that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. So for our call to worship tonight, we're gonna. What's wrong?
I don't want to do that because I can't see. Max, do I come up? Not yet.
So for our call to worship, we're going to chant Om together. Part one?
Our call to worship reminds us why we are here tonight, to celebrate, explore, and develop an interfaith experience and join together in sacred celebration of spirit. We welcome you to the Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution, where our vision is attuned to a higher awareness of oneness. This house of worship is an interfaith and interfaith sacred space for all people to heal, grow, learn, and develop a spiritual consciousness that celebrates the manifestation of the divine in all things.
This spiritual community is one of interfaith exploration and embraces all faiths that are affirming and positive, adhering to the highest spiritual goal of be good and do good. The major tenet of this spiritual community is that there is one infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present divine source that moves in and around all that is seen and unseen.
We affirm that this divine source is called by many names and is beyond name and form, and recognize that while there are many paths that lead to enlightenment, each person is on their personal journey toward the awareness and understanding of the divine.
We believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are spiritually evolving in this lifetime. We declare that enlightenment is possible in the here and now, and that this enlightenment can offer us joy everlasting. We know that living in the present moment and recognizing the true I am, which is our divine nature, is where enlightenment lies.
And we hope that you experience darshan, which is a Sanskrit term for visit with the divine, as a result of this sacred celebration that was designed for you tonight. We are the guardians of the Darshan Center, and we're so pleased to have you here in Satsanga, which is good association with us. Please join us now as we celebrate with song.
In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am more than I am. In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am more than I am. And the songs of all my great-grandmothers and the dreams of all my great-grandfathers, and the way to rise above the pain, all live in me. In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am more than I am. In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am all that I am.
The smiles of all the unborn children and the dreams of better days to come, and the dance of heaven with the adoring,
In me, in the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am all that I am. In the land of I am more than I have been. I am more than I will be. I am all that I am.
Blessed, blessed, blessed one, you who are the breath of life, the animating life force, existence, knowledge, and bliss, we are so grateful to be here celebrating your power. We are so grateful to be here celebrating the divine energy that's in every atom and iota and space between the atoms, the divine nature that moves through us. That's part of everything, and we are here recognizing this power because we understand that we are all divine sparks of this almighty love, force, energy. And when we come together, we elevate love, force, peace, energy on this planet. And we are so grateful to have this space and each other to do this. And we are so grateful to have this particular spiritual family with us, and our hearts are open. And we are so grateful for the message that we're going to hear tonight through our beloved refugee. And together we say, blessed be.
Blessed be.
Aho.
Aho.
Amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Shanti, shanti, shanti. And so it is.
Our reading is from the newsletter, The Guardian's Corner. There are 4 kingdoms of consciousness: to me consciousness, by me consciousness, as me or through me consciousness, and is me consciousness. To me, consciousness represents a state of mind where we believe the good, the bad, and the ugly of life are all happening to us. It is what Eckhart Tolle describes as living in the pain body. In this state of consciousness, we believe we are victims, and blaming others is a byproduct of this belief. We may feel ourselves regularly complaining to others about the state of the world and trying to get others on our side to join us in our resentment and our anger or our pity. The conspiracy theory that life is out to get us is a common belief among those who live in this kingdom. And unfortunately, we commonly feel unhappy, powerless, separate, drained, alone, unsupported, stuck, and vulnerable. To move from this stage, it's necessary for us to give up blame, to become the architect of our destiny and make decisions to step out of our lower vibration.
When the day is long and the night is yours alone. When you're sure you've had enough of this life, well, hang on. Don't let yourself go, 'cause everybody cries and everybody hurts sometimes. Sometimes everything is wrong. Now it's time to sing along when your day is night alone.
Hold on,
If you feel like letting go,
hold
when you think you've had too much of this life, well, hang on.
Everybody hurts. Take comfort in your friends. Everybody hurts.
Don't throw your head. Don't throw your head when you feel like you're alone. No, 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 you're not alone. If you're on your own in this life, the days and nights are long. When you think you've had too much of this life, to hang on. Well,
Everybody hurts.
sometimes
Everybody cries. Everybody hurts sometimes.
but everybody hurts sometimes. So hold on,
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Everybody hurts.
Hold on.
With by me consciousness, we begin to take our power back because we realize we no longer need to be a victim of life. And more importantly, we can positively affect our reality and our experiences. This becomes a challenge not to get into the here I come to save the day, Mighty Mouse, or superhero mentality. Coming from a stronger and more positive energy, we can step into this kingdom of consciousness by observing our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors as we begin to take the necessary actions to transform them. This brings us into alignment with what we want and who we want to be rather than what we don't want. Here we become the architect of our own destiny, as Swami Jyotirmayananda reminds us. Living in the solution rather than the problem is where we need to reside. We can manifest positive people, situations, and outcomes. When our reality shifts, we create a life lived on purpose. We feel more empowered as we realize that change starts with us. We can begin to affirm what we want, give up complaining and blaming, and change our future story. The caution here is to gently affirm and allow divine grace to match our self-effort and not to come from an energy of control and manipulation. Another pitfall of this kingdom of consciousness is to become the savior and the martyr who tries to fix everything. These behaviors are informed by ego and are still operating at a lower vibration.
So really, that sums it up. Have a nice day. We'll see you next week. But that's what I'm going to talk about, those two things. And namaste and welcome, 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 welcome. It's good to see everybody here. We're back from, bonjour, we're back from France. And we're still on France time. So like right now it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And that's how I feel, like it's 1 o'clock. But we're getting used to it. We had so many miracles, but I'm not going to talk about all of the gratitude and all of the miracles of our trip. We'll have to talk about that after service or something, because I'm going to be talking about the kingdoms of consciousness tonight, and I'm going to talk about it in 2 parts, because I usually have the first Sunday of every month and then the third, and so this is part 1, and so I'm combining 2 kingdoms of consciousness. The first one is to me, the victim consciousness, and then the by me consciousness. Now, did you notice the pictures, the beautiful pictures on the altar? So on my right is the Picasso crying woman. It's the crying woman on the right, and on the left is Superman. And so the crying woman is really representing the victim consciousness, that to me consciousness, where we feel like everything's happening to me. And by me consciousness is, well, now it's taking a little action and going from the problem to the solution, and that's represented by Superman. So confession, right? I mean, I did this already this morning. I'm a guest speaker at Unity for the entire month, Unity Pompano. Reverend Lawrence and Reverend Bev Spivey asked me, they're in Mexico on a retreat, and they asked me to take the helm for them for the month. And so I'm doing Kingdoms of Consciousness for them, and I thought, well, let's keep it all in continuity, right? And I know that Deborah Markle was watching us, and hi Deborah, I see you on, I know you're on, and you heard it already. So maybe I'll do it a little different this time, just to jazz it up a little bit. But victim consciousness, to me consciousness, boy do I relate to that. I really, really relate in such a very deep way. I feel like I kind of live there sometimes, and I have to really move myself out of it. When I turn on my phone in the morning, and this is a bad habit now that I've gotten into, but I turn my phone on and I go right to my news apps. I want to see what's happening. And I'm thinking, oh, what's the next thing that's going to happen? Newsflash. Breaking news, this just in. Oxygen is now You need to pay for oxygen, or we're cutting oxygen off, or something crazy, because it just seems like a lot of things are crazy these days. Things that you never would have expected, things that you say, oh, that could never happen, are happening. They're happening. And so it's really, really hard to not go to that victim headset and that fear place. That's when things are happening in the present. Now, when things have happened in the past, how many of you have had some injury in your life? Oh, no one? Oh, great. Okay, well, not great. Misery loves company. It's true. But I don't think that there's anyone that's immune from injury and pain. In fact, the Buddha tells us that, right? The Buddha reminds us in the Noble Truths, the first Noble Truth, life is suffering. Great, thanks Buddha. Thank you so much. You know, in recovery, there's one of our literature in recovery, there's page 17, and it says, there will be more pain. Ugh, horrible, I don't want that. You know, why? I don't like pain. I don't know if anybody really likes pain necessarily, but pain is part of life. In fact, the moment that we're born, we're heading towards death. Isn't that true? Isn't it true that we get something, and the minute we get it now, we have to start to take care of it. We want to make sure that it's clean and that it doesn't get dirty. And like today, in my car, oh my God, we were gone for 2 weeks. My car sat underneath this tree in front of our house, and there's nothing but sap droppings and iguana poop and all kinds of things, and I needed Gooby Gone to get rid of it. So I spent a lot of time today cleaning my car and making it perfect. Tomorrow morning, the iguanas are going to shit on the car again. Like, I just know it. It's going to happen, right? And so this is what the Buddha is talking about when the Buddha says that life is suffering. Why? Because you're craving and clinging to that which is what? Impermanent. Things which are changing. They're forever changing. I can't wait to get a house. I'm going to buy a house. I can't wait to get a house. Swami Jyotirmayananda always talks about this. He says, you go to the beach, you go on vacation, you love it. You say, I want to build a house. I want to build a house right here. So build a house on the beach. Now here comes the hurricanes. Now here comes the salt. Some of us live on the beach, we know, right? The salt can be very damaging. So I got to take care of these things that were shiny and new. Brand new car, right? Car smell. New car smell. How long does that last? Sometimes it doesn't last at all. I don't know. Mary's car's, no, still not new smell. You drive your car off of a lot. You've already depreciated it in value, right? This is life. This is what this Maya is about. So why do we get so hooked into then? It's kind of like a setup. It's a setup to be a victim because things are forever changing. People come, people go. People show their true colors. Some people are toxic for us. Some people have to kind of keep their distance. Go to your room. You have to give them a timeout. Everything is changing. And so when we adopt a victim mentality, we stay in this low vibration, this low frequency. And we can't allow then all of the blessings and the miracles to come in. And we're taking the surrender role where we're not invested in what's happening in our lives. We think that stuff is happening to us, and maybe it's true. Maybe we don't have any control over it. I think if anyone of the ascended masters that could really say, listen, I deserve to be in the to-me consciousness, or I deserve to be in the victim mentality, it would be Jesus. It would be the Master Jesus. I mean, here's Jesus, who is betrayed. He asks his friends to stay with him. Stay with me while I pray. And what do? They fall asleep. Just like us. Sometimes we go back to sleep. Sometimes our spiritual sleep happens, where we forget right? Who we really are. And we forget that there's a divine plan in place. Now, Jesus had every reason to be in that victim mentality. But what does he do? The first thing he says as he's on the cross, wrongful death conviction, betrayal of friends who he thought were friends. What does he say? He doesn't say, pour me another drink. He doesn't say, pour me, I'm a victim. This is unfair. He had every reason to have righteous anger. Because what was happening to him was not fair. But what does he say instead? He says, forgive them, and he says, into your hands I commend you, my spirit. So he surrenders into God's divine plan. He lovingly suffered and bled. And even in the midst of that suffering, he was thinking about others. You see, to me, consciousness is that victim mentality. It's rooted in self-centered fear. Just like the disease of addiction is rooted in self-centered fear. Jesus wasn't doing that. Jesus was thinking about everybody else. And thinking about this as a moment to teach. He was telling us to forgive, even when it's the worst thing that could possibly be happening. You know, the Zen Buddhist reminds us that while pain is unavoidable, suffering is optional. I remember watching this amazing film, It's a Beautiful Life. You remember that? It's a Beautiful Life. Is it a beautiful life, or is it Life is Beautiful?
It's a beautiful life.
The one where he's in the concentration camp?
No, Life is Beautiful.
Life is Beautiful. I always get them confused. Life is Beautiful. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. Maybe that should be our next Darshan Cinema. I don't know. See if you like it. Some of you don't like my picks, I know, but it's all right. Life is Beautiful is about Nazi Germany, World War II, concentration camps, the Holocaust, and it takes place in Italy. And this man is with his son, and they're about to take them to a concentration camp to die. But he doesn't want his son to be afraid. And so he shifts the consciousness for his son. He makes believe that there's this party going on and it's all great and everything is wonderful and that life is beautiful. And Viktor Frankl also kind of, is down that road as well, right? Where we can shift our consciousness and we don't have to stay in that victim mentality, in that victim headset. The Taoists would say, go with the flow, baby. Wu-wei it all the way, right? Just wu-wei it. Go with it. Whatever it is, it is. Swami Jyotirmayananda, welcome. Swami Jyotirmayananda would remind us that adversity is austerity in disguise. And so what gift can I unwrap in this adversity? Now, I told this story this morning, so Deborah, I'm sorry, you have to hear it again. But in 2010 was a very bad year for me. In 2010, I lost my job. I was teaching at a community college in Miami, and I was doing, I thought, really well. Really well. My students loved me, I got great evaluations, I did a lot of programming, I thought I was doing great. And I have to admit, I'll confess, that there was a little part of me, maybe a big part of me, that felt like they were very lucky to have me. I'm sorry, Lieutenant, NYPD 20 years, right? Michael, come on, Ground Zero, first responder, behavioral science commanding officer, give me a break. How lucky are they that I'm here with them? And that was my attitude, and that was my vibration, that was my energy. So when I didn't get the continuing contract, which means in academia, you don't, and Lauren remembers this, I was crying on the phone, I was crying a river. Boy, was I crying a victim headset river. Remember that? I was devastated. First of all, I went into a fear place. That's what happens in victim consciousness. We go to fear right away. I thought, oh, me and Chris and Shanti, I think at the time it was Carrie Ann and Abby, we'd all be on the street, hitchhiking, and we would lose our home, and like none of that happened, right? What was the gift to unwrap? Well, I really thought that I didn't do anything wrong, and that this was unfair treatment, that it was unjust. So I had a lot of righteous anger about it. But the more I thought about it, and the more I came to acceptance around what was and what is and wu-wei, I was wu-weiing it, trying very desperately, while I was lighting candles to St. Jude, asking for it to be overturned. It never was. But what I recognized was the gift that I unwrapped from that terrible experience was my spiritual evolution was happening. And what I mean by that is that I needed humility. I needed to get humble. I wasn't humble. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. Instead, just like St. Paul, I was knocked off my high horse. And today I work at NSU, and it's the dream job, and they treat me so well, and they love me, and they respect me, but I walked into that place with a different attitude. I walked into that place with a lot of humility. So I'm grateful for the adversity and the pain of what looked like victim consciousness. So it took a while for me to get out of the victim consciousness and step into something else, a higher kingdom. So the next kingdom of consciousness is by me consciousness. I love this consciousness because I also stay in this a lot. I'm very familiar with this one. I'm very familiar living in this kingdom because I do believe that I am a superhero. I really do believe it. It's not easy, and it's tiring to be a superhero. Here I come to save the day. Do you remember that? Mighty Mouse is on the way. That's me. So when I hear problems, right away, I'm trying to solve it. I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to manipulate it. I'm trying to control outcomes often. Very tiring. Putting my fingerprints all over stuff. It's better than to me consciousness. It's better than sitting in the poor me. Why is all of this happening to me? And Eckhart Tolle, as you heard in the reading, talks about this pain body thing, and sometimes we love to feed the pain body. And then we want to meet other people that have pain so that we can bump up against their pain and commiserate around the pain and tell the story over and over again. Like, this is not where we want to live. It's not where I want to live. But now the question is, what about by me consciousness? What about now taking a problem and turning it into a solution? Good, yes, better, much better. Do something. You're complaining about where you live? Move. Complaining about the people? Get away from the people. You're complaining about the food? Then go cook something else. Like, that is very positive. And in recovery we talk about getting out of the problem and going into the solution. But there's a danger. The danger comes when I put my ego into it, and I think I am doing it. And sometimes I forget that God is in charge. I forget. And I often think, I'll give stuff to God, like our trip. I was really, really super worried about losing luggage, the delays, COVID. Listen, I could drive myself crazy thinking about all the things that could happen bad. I don't know why, but I blame my mother for that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Only kidding. Well, my mother, when you call my mother, well, she doesn't do it anymore, but she used to. What's wrong? Right? So, by me consciousness is so much better because you're doing something, but when I think that I need to help God, that I'm God's little helper, that's problematic. It's not problematic for God. It's problematic for me. Because It's tiring. It's exhausting. Trying to manipulate and change outcomes. I want to talk a little bit about Moses. Because I don't know if you remember this story or not, but you've heard a lot about the Promised Land, and you've heard about Canaan, etc. And you know that Moses led the people. He led the Israelites, and they were, Rabbi Rain is with us. Hi, Rabbi. I hope I'm saying all of this correctly. I'm sure you'll let me know later if I'm not. Please do. Moses had his hands full. The Israelites, they were satisfied to some degree, right? They complained. They were complaining about slavery, but then when they were released and free, now they were roaming. They didn't like that. Nobody likes to roam. Nobody likes to be kind of wandering in the desert for 40 years, not knowing where you're going to go next or where the next meal is going to come from. And they would complain. And they were a lot of times in victim consciousness, man. They were in that to me consciousness. You know, and Moses was like, oi, right? It was like, oh, what a mishigas this is, right? And he said to God, please feed them. What are we going to do? Feed them. So he does. He gives them manna. It's a miracle. Manna from heaven. They're very happy. They're very content. They're very satisfied. But now they're like, is this all that's on the menu? Can't there be something else? I want my meat, man. Can you give me some meat? I'm not a vegetarian, right? So what does God do? Moses goes to God again, and God gives them quail. And they eat that, and it's fine. And then, you know, it just goes on and on, the story. Ultimately, finally, there's the Promised Land. They're about ready to go through customs with their baggage to get into Canaan. And they're really, really thirsty. And so they go to him again, they go to Moses, and they complain. It's very hard to be the boss, I'll tell you that right now. However, here's what God does for the Israelites. He says to Moses, strike the rock, and it will give you some water. Am I right? Am I right on this story? Oh, please, all my theologians in the room? Okay. But they're complaining, and he loses his temper, Moses. For a moment, he slams the rock twice, and he says, what do you want from us? I do that. I think that I'm helping God. Now, you know, metaphysically and mystically, we also understand that next time I do this on the third Sunday, I'm going to talk about Ismi and Asmi consciousness. Because we know that we are that. I am that Tatwamasi. I'm not going to steal my thunder from my next sermon. But Moses lost his mind for a moment. And he thought that he was God. Now we are God. We're made up of the same ingredients as this absolute reality. We're not this mind. We're not this body. We know that. We get that. We're the soul essence. Is who we really are. But for a moment, Moses forgot that and thought it was him doing everything. Partnering with God. Now, yes, we co-create with God. But we have to be conscious of that. We have to be in awareness of that. Now, here's the bad news for Moses. He gets punished. And he doesn't get to go to the Promised Land. You say, oh my God, for that one little thing, here he was, a trusted servant, all this time for the Israelites, and God won't let him go to the Promised Land? God's mean. It's all mystical. It's all a mystical significance. What it means is that we cannot have that enlightenment feeling. We cannot have that bliss. We cannot have that joy, that serenity, when we think we're doing it. When we forget that there's this higher power that works through us, as us, is us. When we forget that and we think our ego, our little self, our little s self is doing it all, we lose the Promised Land. And so I don't want that to happen, right? We have to recognize that we are partners with God. Now, I'm a big believer in self-effort plus divine grace equals success. But it takes my self-effort. I have to take responsibility. And just like in the Bhagavad Gita, and I'll end with this, Arjuna says to Krishna, he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to go to battle. But Krishna says to him, stand up and fight. Which means the by me consciousness, the Superman mentality, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. It's about taking responsibility for our lives. But it's about being in a conscious awareness that we partner with God. That it's our self-effort, it's our problem solving, plus divine grace. And with that, we can live in the kingdom of consciousness and not be so exhausted. Because our cape, my cape, gets very, very heavy. Because I'm very little. And so the cape is very heavy. And I want to take the cape off and I want to put on higher power cape so I can fly. Namaste. Ask the clergy to come up. Share a little. We're going to have a nice, maybe we have a small group, so maybe we can have some spiritual dialogue. Would be nice. And then we'll have a meditation.
Great. Well, I love this message, and I really like thinking about shifting out of different stages of consciousness, particularly the victim stage of consciousness, because so often we walk in the world and we don't recognize that that we're always at choice, and that we have personal power, and that we're creating it as we go, and that everything is a lesson. Everything carries a lesson for us, and we forget that. We forget that because we forget that we're divine. We forget that we're living a divine life. We forget that we are spirits in human form. And when we remember we're spirit in human form, then we recognize that we are untouched, and that our soul is untouched, and that we cannot be harmed because we are part and parcel of the divine one. So even if we lose our bodies, which is what we sometimes perceive as, oh my God, the worst that can happen is I'm going to die, but really there is no death. And so when we remember that, when we remember our spiritual nature, then we automatically shed the victim consciousness, because it's all divine and it's all in divine order, and there's a lesson that's going to be unearthed. But it's a daily challenge to remember that. It's a hourly challenge to remember that we are divine, and that our souls are untouched by all of the things that are going on in Maya. And I'm going to invite Reverend Mary up to share her wisdom.
I don't know how much wisdom I have today. I'm exhausted. And I think it's because I've been doing that by me thing, It's like working like a crazy person. It's like nobody else can do these tasks. It's just me, Yes, husband, I will do it. But sometimes we have to say no. And sometimes we have to take care of ourselves, because otherwise we set people up to expect a lot of stuff from us. And if we never say no, we're never going to get to the other couple of kingdoms. We have to really know what our boundaries are. And I think that sometimes it's really hard, right? Because we really don't want to be victims. And if we only see the first two kingdoms, we think that's our only choice. But there's more to come. And so stick around. Come back on the third week. Oh, Brother Max.
Not giving up the seat tonight?
I'll give it up.
I didn't know it was going to be a habit.
When you started it.
I know.
Great message tonight. It's like how important are these first two stages of consciousness? They're very important. The entire time you were talking, Rev G, I kept thinking of steps 1, 2, and 3. That fear, in that place of fear, is where we finally come to that awareness that we have a problem and that we need to do something about it. Step 2, realizing that something else is in control, not us. And then number 3, letting that be in control. So that fear for me is so important. It's such a good thing. And I think we all get like that. We all get that victim mentality here or there. But that's not a bad thing. You know, I know any time in my life where I have been in that victim mentality, but then walked through it, something better always came. You know, so it's like with the Buddha and the whole pain thing. Yeah, the pain hurts, but the pain is necessary. Because it's through that pain do we even begin our journey. You know, if we're in that house and that house is comfortable the whole time, we're not going anywhere. But when that house starts to break down, there's a lot of work you gotta do. You think, okay, well, I don't want to go anywhere, but let me move. And you don't even realize the amazing mansion that's waiting for you. And I believe that's probably where you're going, so I'll stop talking on that. But I'm going to say one thing. When you were mentioning the fear, I kept picturing that episode of Friends. If you're afraid of heights, you go to the tallest building. If you're afraid of bugs, well, get a bug. And that's, you know, but even in that, it's talking about how important that fear is. That fear drives us to move. So, great message tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Sister Chris?
So I want to invite you to get comfortable in your seat and prepare to do a brief visualization meditation with me. Line yourself comfortably in your seat. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, close your eyes. And if you're not, you can stare at a spot in front of you on the floor. And begin to breathe deep, relaxing breaths in and out. And on every out breath, feel yourself relax a little bit. Inhale peace and serenity. Inhale calmness and relaxation. And exhale any tension. And now follow your in-breath deep within to that still space deep inside of you, that beautiful heart space of yours, that space where you connect with your spiritual self, your highest self. Allow yourself to see the beauty of this space. This is your internal, safe, sacred space. And into this space, call your allies, call your angels, call the spiritual beings that walk this life path with you, and see them there in your heart space. You are loved, and they are with you, walking this life path, waiting for you to recognize and call upon them. They're always there. And in this heart space, surrounded by your spiritual allies, allow yourself to bring to mind all of those things that have been done to you, that you have been holding on to, things that have hurt you, things that you perceived as injustices. Bring to mind those things that you felt like you had no control over. And see yourself putting those things on the ground. See yourself putting those things that you're carrying in front of you on the ground in this sacred, beautiful heart space. one by one, place all those things that feel unfair or unjust, those things that have hurt you and been done to you, and see them there. And now your allies and your angels and your guardian spirits surround you, and they're covering the pile of things that you have put down to release, and they are covering them with beautiful soil. And those things that you have put onto the floor are now covered. And one of the angels steps forward and tells you that all of those things are seeds for future growth. And you recognize that all of the things that happened to you up until this point are seeds for future growth. And how you care for them and how you bring in the divine to help you tend these things will help you bring forth into the world beautiful, beautiful growth. And you remember that everything that you're going through has a divine purpose, and that you're not alone, and that you are loved. And take a moment here and acknowledge the angels and the spirit guides that are with you. And take a breath, knowing that you have released those things that you've been carrying as injustices and pain, and that they are going to grow and transform for your highest good. And that all of those hardships are being transformed and growing into something that is your highest good. Take a moment and breathe into that awareness. And then thank your guides and guardian spirits and angels, knowing that they are with you, walking this life path always, and knowing that everything is for your highest good. And then take another deep breath. When you are ready, open your eyes and return to the surface, knowing that you are dearly loved.
I got it. Thank you. Spiritual community, we are so grateful to have you here each and every week. You guys keep us going, keep us moving in such a spiritual and emotional way, but also financially. And we are very grateful for that. We're going to have a basket come by. Give whatever feels appropriate and necessary for you. More if you can, less if you can't, that's okay. You can even just put your hands over the basket and offer us your light and love, and that is plenty enough. There are many ways to give. Cash, check, you can give Venmo and Cash App at hashtag Darshan840 or also #Darshan840, and also on PayPal at PayPal4-me something. Something like that.
And Sister Chris, go ahead.
Well, I'm coming around with a little taste of Paris.
Ooh.
Feel the light, the love of God around you. You know the truth is you. As the light of God, the love of God surrounds you, you know the truth is you. Let the power of God, the peace of God inside you become the path. Only you become the peace. Only you. That is you. That is you. As the power of Christ, mind connects you. You know the truth is you. May divine intelligence inside you always guide you to the truth. Let the power of God, the peace of God inside you become the path. Only you become the peace. Only you. That is you. That is you. That is you. That's by an amazing artist, James McCoy. Who's got announcements? So we had a great Darshan Cinema. We missed some of you. We watched Inside Out. More will be revealed about what the next one is. We'll announce it. Reiki is always Thursday nights at 7:30, from 7:30 to 8:30. Sister Chris is going to be starting up August 10th with her spiritual support study circle. And I don't know, I mean, you'll notify your people about that, or what?
Yeah.
Is it this week? It's this coming Wednesday. Okay, and that's at 7 o'clock. And then the last thing is August 27th is full moon kirtan, and we're already selling tickets for that on Eventbrite. It's $10. Please make sure that you buy your ticket ahead of time, because we're gonna close it off at a certain number due to COVID. We don't want it to be, because we're gonna be singing, etc., chanting, and we want to just be aware of that. So, any other announcements? No. Okay. Who's got the prayer? I do. I do? Okay. Let's pray. Thank you, God, Creator, Great Spirit, you who are as expansive as the cosmos and yet as personal as our heartbeat. We thank you for this time together. We thank you for bringing us home safe and sound. Thank you for a beautiful trip. Thank you for this beautiful community. Thank you for Rev Mary and Rev Max for holding down the fort as they did so beautifully for 2 weeks. Thank you for all of our members. We ask for protection and guidance, love and healing, that they feel that deeply. And that everywhere that they go, they feel the presence of God with them always. And that they see Darshan, that they get Darshan. Darshan, visit with the divine always. We thank you, God, for everything. So it is. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And this is a really cool song. I want you all to stand up, and if you know it, please sing it. Sing along with us. I'm not meant to fly. I'm not that naive. just out to find the better part of me. I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane, I'm more than some pretty face beside a train. It's not easy to be me. I wish that I could cry and fall upon my knees and find a way to lie about a home I'll never see. It may sound absurd, but don't be naive. Even heroes have the right to bleed. I may be disturbed, but won't you concede? Even heroes have the right to dream. It's not easy to be me. Up and away, away from me. Well, it's alright. You can all sleep sound tonight. I'm not crazy for anything. I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. Men weren't meant to ride with clouds between their leaves. I'm only a man in a silly red sheet, digging for kryptonite on this one-way street. Only a man in a funny red sheet, looking for special things inside of me, inside of me. Inside of me, inside of me, inside of me. I'm only a man in a funny red sheet, looking for special things inside of me. I'm only a man in a funny red sheet. It's not easy. It's not easy to be me. Namaste. Thank you for coming.